Okay, here's the idea. I'm going to read this chapter and record it. I'm going to post it and welcome people to join us in the 40-day thing that we're going through. And I'll post the URL. That's what I'm going to try and do.
Okay.
And maybe the whole thing will crumble, but I'll give it a shot. So for today, here's chapter 16 from A Course of Love, book 3, just before the 40 days. From image to presence. Barren forms might be seen as forms that existed before the onset of the state of becoming. You're now in the final stage of the state of becoming. You now know who you are, and so you can begin the work or the relationship of this final stage, the stage of becoming who you are. This is the stage in which movement, being, and expression come together into the recreation of wholeness that will be expressed in the elevated self of form. If you're watching this and that made no sense to you, you probably need to go back and read this book, because the rest of it's not going to make any more sense to you than that did. All right, 16.2. The creation story is occurring right now in each of you who have reached this final stage of becoming. This is both the beginning stage and the final stage, for once begun, the story of creation moves inevitably to join with the accomplishment and wholeness that already exist in unity. Creation occurs in each of us, seemingly one at a time. Creation is our coming into our true identity, and it is the extension or expression of that identity into the creation of wholeness in form. To be barren is to be empty. Empty is the opposite of full, the opposite of wholeness. It's the perceived condition of lack. It's the belief that what animated form with life did not remain, which wouldn't make any sense at all. The belief that in the passing through, a relationship did not form. But as can be easily seen, the earth is no longer a formless wasteland. Form was animated with spirit and entered a state of becoming. You were animated with spirit, and you too entered a state of becoming. We were all born into it. 16.4. You can be an expression of being and yet not express the wholeness of being. This is a description of the state of becoming. It's a perceived state. It's a state in which the unified principles of creation are seen to be taking place as separate steps. This is so because of the condition of time. Once these principles are unified, time will have ended just as it was once begun. The unified principles of creation, once unified within each of us, bring light to each of us. They bring the ability to see, the ability to grow, the ability to be, the ability to create.
The ability to know.
Did I miss that one?
All good. No, you said grow, and it's good.
Did I
It
say
was
grow instead of no?
another one of those good substitutions.
Creative reading, yeah.
Yeah.
Through the art of thought, these abilities become who we are. God and creation are synonymous. And you are reminded of that here as you and God become synonymous through creation. Doodly-doo. Means and end are one. Cause and effect the same. Creation is means and end as God is means and end. Creation is cause and effect as God is cause and effect. When you move from the state of becoming to the state of being whole, you will have moved through the act of creation, and you will have become a creator. You will be ready for creation of the new. You were told within this course that being is as love is. Being is as love is. I like that phrase. You were told within this course that being is as love is. Here, In other words, for me, what I'm getting out of this is that to exist in the moment, to be in the moment, being, to be is to be love. When you're sitting,
Yes.
that's the connection. Oh, gosh, I can imagine seeing this for the first time and this still making absolutely no sense to somebody, but um, it makes
Hang in
sense
there.
after you read the whole book.
That's right. It's
Here you
getting exciting.
And it's
More and
getting
more exciting.
exciting. Yeah, it's because to know that that's the truth actually is such a freeing principle. It's like, man, if you're not feeling that, then you're not in the right place
Yet.
yet. That's right. Take a deep breath and be still and come back into that love, and you're there. Here you are told that being is a principle of creation, and that you are not told that love is a principle of creation. Love is not a principle any more than it's an attribute. This is because love remains in eternal wholeness. Love cannot be learned, and so has stood apart from the time of learning. This is a promise. Being could be learned here because it was not yet whole. Being is synonymous with identity. Think of that as your ego. When your being and your identity, yourself, that's big self, and your awareness of self are whole and complete, being, like love, is no longer capable of being learned, for it no longer has attributes. Love is the spirit of the wind that animates all form. Love is spirit, is God, is creation. Love is a description of the all of all because it is whole and rests in eternal completion and wholeness. Love is the state of unity, the only relationship through which the self, big S, self, and God become known to you. God, love, creation are all that remained in union in eternal completion when form came into being.
Are all that remained in union, in eternal completion, when form came into being and time appeared. And that started to try and break things up. But there are certain things it just couldn't break up because they were completely whole. Love, God, creation. Those remain eternally whole.
Nice.
They can't be learned either, because learning something means you've gone backwards in time.
Mm-hmm.
So we, we,
Mm-hmm.
we're moving forward now.
Mm-hmm.
Yet movement,
Yet
back to you.
movement, being, and expression are also what is, because they are the givens. Love, like God, like creation, is the giver of the givens. Life was given through the extension and the expression of God, of love, of creation, through the extension of wholeness into the seemingly separate identities of form. The way of that extension was the way of the unified principles of creation, the way of movement, being, and expression. The difference between
That whole
Mhm.
paragraph is huge.
Yeah, it's it seems superfluous to highlight a whole paragraph,
Just
so just when it all comes together.
yeah.
16:9. The difference between the way that is and what is lies in choice. While you think that you can choose to stand apart from God, apart from love, apart from creation, you cannot. But you can, while existing in time and form, choose to stand apart from movement, being, and expression. That's like being on the sidelines. You can choose,
Hmm.
in other words, to exist without allowing spirit to move you, without allowing yourself to be who you are, without allowing for self expression. You
Wow.
might think that you can be simply because you exist. And that as long as you exist in form, you are being, because you are being something. You might think that. You're alive, you have form, you can think and feel. You have been told that you would cease to be without the existence of spirit, and so you think you must at least be. You are, after all, called a human being. While you are becoming you, while you are becoming you, while you are becoming, you are still being acted upon by creation. You are still being acted upon by creation because you are not yet whole. When you are whole, creation's principles will be what you do and what you are rather than what is happening to you.
Amen.
That's from the perspective of the ego. So this one would make sense to somebody who is seeing this for the first time. When we're doing all of this, it's going to feel like you're in control rather than the world is happening to you. Creation's purpose, creation's cause and effect is wholeness and the continuing expression of wholeness. While it was said in a treatise on the new, now is the time to move out of the time of becoming who you are to the time of being who you are. It was not said that this time of becoming was completed. And yet giving and receiving are one in truth. I'm not lying.
Mhm.
All of the principles of creation are in accord with this truth. And thus, these truths occur in unison or in union. Becoming is movement. Movement is given and becomes movement in form. Being is given and becomes being in form. Expression is given and becomes expression in form. Since you were conceived in form, you were in movement. Since you were conceived in form, you were being. Since you were conceived in form, you were expressing. It would be impossible for these principles of creation not to be constantly occurring in everything that lives, because all that lives lives because of creation's continuing creation. Becoming is the movement from image to presence. It is upon you as we speak. It's not a learned state or a process, and it should not be seen as a cause for disappointment. Perhaps you thought you were beyond this point of becoming. And yet, as you have begun your practice of awareness, acceptance, and discovery, you have felt as if you still have a long way to go. You've often thought that even though you may be done with learning, you don't quite feel complete, or possibly even feel as if learning has not quite been accomplished in you. This is precisely why we now discuss this state of becoming, this movement from image to presence. 1613. This is creation going on in this becoming, the very creation promised you. I put my promises in purple. This is the creation of the new you that you were told will precede the creation of the new world. This is what is meant by as within, so without. Only a new you can create a new world. The new you is the elevated self, big self, of form. Elevated self of form. This is the extension of ACIM that might trip some people up if you're coming directly from ACIM, but it's also the path out of ACIM's being stuck in the
Ego.
head. and being able to tie that wholeheartedness together. That's such a hard thing to get past. For me anyway, to get past the ACIM lessons and be willing to accept new lessons and continued lessons so that I can leave the idea of learning behind.
Yep.
Anyway, only you can create a new world. The new you is the elevated self of form, who you are in the process of becoming. This time of becoming is the time in between your awareness of and access to Christ consciousness or unity, and your sustainability of Christ consciousness or unity in form. In your time of directly experiencing the movement, being, and expression of unity, you are being who you are. At other times, you are becoming who you are. In your time of directly experiencing the movement, being, and expression of unity, you are whole and complete. You feel no lack, no uncertainty, no doubt. You are confident in what you know. You realize fully that you are no longer a learning being and that you have no need for teachers or guidance other than for what? Other for that which comes from your own heart.
So again, other, other than.
You realize that you are no longer a learning being and that you have no need for teachers or for guidance other than for that which comes from your own heart.
Right.
At times when you are not directly experiencing the movement, being, and expression of unity, you realize the state of becoming. To realize the state of becoming is to realize that an in-between exists between the time of learning and the time of being the elevated self of form. That times still exist in which you are not wholly present as who you are. When you are not wholly present as who you are experiencing still the image or after image of who you are. This image is like a lingering shadow. It encompasses all of your former ideas about yourself, all of the patterns of the time of learning, all of the moments in which you feel an inability to join in union, and which you recognize the still image. In which you recognize still the image of your former self. This is only an image. This is not your personal self, your ego self, or your separated self. Come to reclaim you. This is why we've also described this as an after image. It's but a photograph that remains a copy of what you once might have thought of as your original self. It's but an impression, as in clay, or a reflection, as in a mirror. It is as removed from who you are as the picture of an ancestor or a landscape that hangs on your wall, separate from what it is an image of.
But you can copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. You might have to edit that out.
It's not an inside joke. It's not a good joke.
Copy
there,
and paste, copy and paste.
there may be a striking beauty in this image, as there is in all kinds. This may be an idealized image of your former self, the image of your best self, who you may imagine now, through the grace of God, you finally are. But this may also be, nope, but this may also at times be an image of a type, a construction of the subconscious. Which still sees in forms and symbols. Let's try that again. But this may also be at times an image of a type, a construction of the subconscious, which still sees in forms and symbols. This kind of image may leave you thinking that you are acting as if you have changed, while even within your new actions, you see archetypes of the previously known and previously experienced. Our egos are smart. They will make it seem like we're failing even while we're succeeding.
Yes.
The stimulus for these after images is gone. That means it's your choice to continue to see them if you wish. You get to
Your
choose.
echoes.
The stimulus for these after images is gone. They are but sensations that remain like memories of childhood. This time of becoming is a time of coming to acceptance of them as what they are, images. Images. This time of becoming is a time of coming to acceptance that they are not real. They are no more real than the mirage of your future, another aspect of the image you have held of yourself. They are no more real than was the image of heaven, your image of heaven. They are no more real than was your image of heaven, or any image you have had of heaven on earth, paradise found. The time of becoming is a time of letting these images be without reacting to them. The time of becoming is a time of letting these images be without reacting to them. You will be in the moment and you don't have to react. It is a time of coming to no longer hold these images in your mind and heart. Sorry, let me just make this green because that's something we should do. It's a time of coming to no longer hold these images in your mind and heart. It's a time of letting them first cease to affect you and then letting them go entirely. For without letting them go, you are not fully present. You got to let all the other stuff go in order to be fully present. Without letting them go, your presence is not wholly realized. You're not fully here. You're not whole. You're not complete. Sorry, that's actually should be blue because it's a warning to me. You are at times, you are at times who you are. That's a promise. No. Oh, I'll let
Let it go, let it go.
it. But you also are at times but an image of who you have perceived yourself to be. This image, being but an image, is incapable of true joining in a relationship. You must be fully present in order to join in relationship. And that's why we're doing this. I want to document the relationship part of going through this process because you can't really get this book unless you're getting it in a relationship way. And I think that's what's magic about us talking through this every morning. All of your images are false images. And when you retain them, you do not allow for the time of learning to be replaced with the only replacement that will sustain Christ consciousness, the replacement of learning with sharing in unity and relationship.
From learning to sharing. While you're still learning, you have to be in your head. And because you're learning, when you're in a relationship, you grow together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a much better place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to take this recording and have an introduction that says, okay, here's what's happening. Here's what you're about to see.
Maybe. Maybe.
I've got this thing, if it ever goes, but if it ever goes the way it is now, it will go.
Sounds great. Love you, Papa.
Love you, Lee.
Bye.
Bye.